It's a vehicle that provokes both curiosity and trepidation. Ambulances have been hauling the afflicted to hospital for over 100 years, in luxury and security.
You hang on back there, you hear me?
We may never want to ride in it, but when we need it, wow, baby, we glad it's there. You know someone who needs to be saved? Here's a tip. Call the professionals. They have what it takes to save a life, and that is an ambulance.
I love it. The power that you have when you're driving lights and sirens, the parting of the seas with cars moving out of your way. Wrong way. I'll find I'm in my own car and I just automatically reach for buttons to be able to get through traffic jams.
19 years. That's how long Ornella Guizzo has been a paramedic. But it's not just the speed that gives her a rush.
I've done the two things I've wanted to do my whole career. One is deliver a baby, and two is bring back somebody from death and they walk out of the hospital. Not too many people can say that.
Ambulances like Ornella's have two basic requirements. They need a place to put the patient and a means to get them to the hospital. This is the industry standard. It's built on a commercial truck chassis and has a modular patient compartment. Now what this means is that when the engine goes, the patient compartment can be removed and placed on a new chassis and engine. To put it on the road, you're going to need a cool $2 million. That's the cost, including the ambulance itself, plus bandages, drugs, medical instruments, defibrillators, heart monitors, round-the-clock shifts of 2 paramedics, and a state-of-the-art communications system. Of course, there's an irony here. It's that this noble vehicle designed for saving lives is a byproduct of that age-old human tradition, war. The first known medics were the Knights of St. John, who doctored to fallen crusaders during the Middle Ages, and that is where today's St. John's ambulance comes from. But it took the carnage of the American Civil War to create the first official ambulance system. At the same time, the Geneva Convention was being struck in, well, Geneva, Switzerland. And one rule said that all medical installations, including ambulances, were off limits to attack, but they needed a symbol. So they took the Swiss flag, reversed the colors, and voila, the Red Cross was born. It has adorned ambulances, both military and civilian, ever since. But the sight of an ambulance can provoke mixed emotions.
It's usually when people see something like somebody having a heart attack, there's a sense of panic. Everybody is so emotional and worked up about their loved ones. I would like to think that if they saw the ambulance, they would know that we're professionals, we know what we're doing, and we're there to help them.
Angelo DeLisi spends 12 hours of every working day with Ornella.
Probably spend more time with my partner than I do with maybe a girlfriend. On high-stress calls, being able to work with the same partner, you don't necessarily have to talk. We don't have to ask each other to do things, it just kind of gets done and we trust each other.
Okay, can you just tell him, I'm going to take his blood sugar just to see how he is, okay? I was hired in June of 1987. When I first started, we only had the bed, oxygen, and blanket, which we call Bob. Back then, it was just go to the hospital. There wasn't much you could do.
The transformation from ambulance driver to medical professional started in the 50s for a couple of reasons. First, there were more cars on the road than ever before, and the crashes were spectacular. By the end of the decade, over 1 million North Americans had died. Second, 2 new medical techniques made first aid more effective: mouth-to-mouth resuscitation and cardiopulmonary resuscitation. It was only common sense. Train ambulance drivers in mouth-to-mouth and CPR, it would save lives. And over the decades, the scope of paramedics training has grown. Now they can perform complicated medical techniques like inserting an IV and intubation.
Nowadays, we are essentially bringing either the hospital or a mobile intensive care unit to your house. We're doing skills that truly are life-saving. That's how far we've come.
But there's one tool in the paramedics kit that has probably saved more lives than anything else: the portable defibrillator.
Shocking.
Hey, come on! Rip off, how come the patient isn't jumping when the shock comes?
That's a Hollywood thing.
Ah, come on!
That whole make them jump off the stretcher, they don't do that.
No way!
I've been a paramedic for 18 years. Never seen anybody jump up like that.
If they're used at the scene of a heart attack, portable defibrillators dramatically increase the victim's chance of survival.
Back in normal sinus.
Ever wonder how it works? Well, my son, your heartbeat is set by naturally occurring electrical impulses inside the heart itself. But sometimes it suddenly loses the rhythm, begins to quiver, and stops pumping blood. This is fibrillation. Death is only minutes away. Electric shock stops your heart completely. The hope is that your heart's regular electrical impulses will kick back in. It's kind of like hitting the reset button on your heart.
Do I have a pulse with that? Yes, I do. Another life saved.
Hey! Will you get out the way? Get out the way! Oh yeah, that's what the siren and lights are for. GPS helps too. But paramedics also have to be expert drivers.
The vehicles of Toronto EMS and the roads of Toronto don't get along too well. It's a little hair-raising sometimes. And then when you have someone in the back and you're driving lights and sirens, you can't drive crazy.
You ever had a stroke before?
You have to be careful because your partner's unbelted, and sometimes our people are quite frail.
Keep the patient safe and comfortable. That's what the doctor ordered. So it's not pedal to the metal, but more of a soft touch. A soft touch that may not come naturally. Every paramedic's got to go through an intensive driver training course. The roller coaster wasn't this intensive. I'm getting a little nauseous. Do you have anything for nausea?
Yeah, a little faster.
Do you guys recommend using the gloves to drive?
As you're driving, if you've got contamination on your gloves from handling the patient and then you're touching that steering wheel, you're contaminating the vehicle.
For the record, I wasn't handling the old patient.
Yes.
Okay.
You ready to go?
It's just a few cones, right?
Yes. Go.
That's G-force. It's got a bit of power, huh, this thing?
So if you need to, brake in the most straight line as possible, opposed to
braking
braking.
now.
Now get her right up to the guardrail and swing her along the guardrail.
All right.
And then you're going to come down the blue ones.
Get up
Brake
here
and brake right up to the orange cone, right in here. That's it. Swing it across, and you're going to serpentine all the way up.
On your side.
On your side.
And then
Come
judgment
up here,
stop?
judgment stop.
Judgment.
As close as you can get without knocking them over. Good.
Did I hit him?
Nope, you did fine.
What next?
Now we're going to back up, and then we're going to go into the garage with the arrow pointing in. Look in the convex mirror. Do you see it? Now you turn it a bit, and it'll go right immediately to your big mirror.
Big mirror, big mirror.
Once you identify it, go into your convex mirror, and same thing on this side. Big mirror.
There it is. Now
Pick it up
I go
in
to
the convex mirror.
I got it.
Good. Crank it really hard to your right, real hard. See the yellow cones?
Yeah.
You got it.
I'm in the garage.
Good stuff.
So I've completed this course now, somewhat successfully, arguably successfully.
No, you did very well. Very well.
And now I'm going to do it with a patient.
Right.
How's the patient doing? She's going to try to decorate that cake while I drive through this course, isn't she? Okay, ready, set, go?
Ready, set, go.
How you doing back there? Oh, I look forward, right?
Yeah. Now to your left a bit.
Right. You hang on back there, you hear me?
That's it. Good. Just a tad.
Wow, this could roll. Cool, don't you let go!
Left.
Judgment stop. Pretty successful mission. See how the patient's doing. How's it looking here? Think we lost him, or
I think so.
The first ambulances were nothing more sophisticated than a horse and carriage. Sometimes, sadly, the horses used so much energy getting to the patient that they didn't have the horsepower to get the patient to the hospital before the Grim Reaper came calling. In 1909, the first motor ambulance was put into service. Cots were sometimes suspended from the ceiling so the patients were spared the bumps of rough, unpaved roads. But in the 1930s, ambulances took on a more romantic air.
The big styling change was a switch to what we see here called the limousine style. These cars had real sirens, big mechanical pieces that mounted on the fenders or the roof, alternating flashing lights fore and aft and so on. Also, the operators were very, very proud of these. Big lettering on the door, things like radio equipped, that was a big deal in the 50s. Oxygen equipped, you could advertise not just your company, but the level of service that you're able to provide.
And that mattered because back then, it was all free enterprise.
In cities where there were 3 or 4 commercial ambulance operations, it was pretty scary at times. It wasn't unusual at an accident scene to have one car pull up and the second arriving ambulance from the competing firm would slide in behind it so they couldn't get the stretcher out or open their back door. Scoop and run, they called it.
Oddly, often the local hearse doubled as the local ambulance, putting a few extra bucks in the undertaker's pocket.
It seemed somewhat unseemly to haul the patient away, and if he expired on the way, well, what funeral home was he going to go to? Well, he's there already. So there was definitely some gray areas there.
In the 70s, local governments started taking over ambulance service and implementing stricter standards. And the drivers were getting sick and tired of banging their dang heads on the low roof. The station wagon type of ambulance was quickly becoming a relic, replaced by a roomier type of vehicle. Now, big cities like Toronto need even bigger ambulances. The fleet is huge, almost 200 vehicles.
This fleet actually was developed back in 1975. We had a local transit bus, TTC bus, in collision with a GO Transit train. We had a lot of patients that had to be transported, but all we had was ambulances. We borrowed an old TTC bus, converted it into an ambulance, and we've been replacing them. So the vehicle behind me here, ESU 5, it came on the road in 1986, and the vehicle next to it, ESU 6, came on the road in 2003, actually.
Each bus can carry up to 10 patients on stretchers while another 10 sit. They've got all the same gear as a regular ambulance. But wait, there's more.
This is an emergency power unit. It was originally designed, one, to give us lighting at an emergency situation. It also has a 100 kilowatt generator on board, so we could give power to a building. This vehicle and its sister can come to the scene and they can give the vehicles any equipment they need. Any patient care equipment, all including oxygen, would be carried on board.
Toronto's ambulance fleet transports almost 400 patients every day. In a city with 10,033 different streets and 20,371 intersections, getting those patients to hospital in a matter of minutes can be daunting. But they seem to have a system down pat. This is Toronto EMS Communications Centre. It's where 911 calls are taken.
Toronto Ambulance, where do you need us?
Emergencies get a grade from Alpha to Echo, Alpha being the least serious. Echo? Well, you don't want to be an Echo.
And what's the problem? Tell me exactly what's happened. Does she have a history of heart problems?
The address and details are sent to a second dispatcher who is tracking the whereabouts of all the ambulances by GPS. This dispatcher finds the closest green flag to a patient's location and dispatches it to the scene. The goal is to have all this done in less than 9 minutes, 9 times out of 10.
Paramedics, I need you to stay on the phone. Don't hang up, okay?
Once the ambulance is on scene, the call goes through to another dispatcher who sends it to one of 17 area hospitals.
80-20, that'd be Mount Sinai.
That can be tricky. If there are a lot of calls in the same neighborhood, the local hospital's ER can get clogged. And if the ambulance goes there, the crew may be stuck there for hours with the patient waiting for an available bed.
We were here earlier today and it wasn't bad. Yeah, I guess this is rush hour.
To avoid that, Toronto EMS has developed its own patient distribution software. When the info about the patient is cross-referenced with hospitals' waiting times and patient load, the software spits out the closest bet for a hospital that can deal with the case as quickly as possible.
5236, 10-4 for Etobicoke.
And another patient makes it to hospital. This is the latest incarnation of a military ambulance, the Bison, a 13-ton, 8-wheeled armoured vehicle, originally the Canadian Army's main troop carrier. Powered by a turbocharged diesel engine, it can go up to 100 kilometers per hour and can withstand direct hits. 32 of the Army's 200 Bisons have been modified to serve as ambulances in hot spots like the Balkans and now Afghanistan. The patient compartment of the Bison is similar to a civilian ambulance, although the ride seems a lot smoother. But it's the outside where it counts.
This is armored. Anything that's civilian pattern will get shot up and mobility killer can't move. This can take people back when it's under fire.
These three soldiers, medics Leanne Killen and Wes Arscott, and driver Rob Courage, serve with the 2 field ambulance unit of the Royal Canadian Army Medical Corps.
We're going into areas of known conflict where it's expected that we are going to come under fire. So that, even though it may come as a shock, it shouldn't, because we're conscious of those environments that we're going into. So definitely the tactical situation is always looming.
After 6 months of training with the Bison, they will be heading to Afghanistan for a 6-month tour of duty. Today, they are participating in a simulated suicide attack.
The scenario is going to happen. We're going to have you guys respond to a possible suicide bombing. Okay. There's going to be an LSVW, which has had a civilian vehicle crash into it. There's going to be a number of casualties there. Remember, the guys on the ground are there to give you a hand. If you need lifting assistance, get them to help you. You guys get ready to mount up, and we'll give you the big wave.
Artillery cover! Artillery clear! 2 victims! We've got a casualty over here! One more soldier on me.
The general approach to patient care really isn't that much different.
We want to minimize her exposure as well, okay?
So go with the head blocks.
Okay.
I want to get those people loaded up onto the ambulance as quickly as possible and carry on with my interventions on board in my safe working environment.
Good, how are you breathing? Okay. Time is tissue, so you want to be able to move as fast as you can. And in a tactical situation like that, you always want to stay as low as possible. So that's the luxury of having this as a training exercise. We can always critique you guys here, and the lessons go with you in the next situation, okay? So otherwise, you did a fantastic job. Anything that you saw on the scene that you wanted to improve on? Any points from you guys?
I noticed there was only 1 or 2 guys, what can I do, what can I do, what can I do? Maybe we should have taken a more aggressive stance with them, but...
Get a grip on the situation, and you can direct traffic. But also keep in the back of your mind, how many guys do you want to pull off with weapons pointing out that's making sure that you're safe?
But it's not just in the theater of war where mass casualties can occur. Civilian ambulance systems also need to be prepared for disasters. And that is just what happened in downtown Toronto on December 8, 2003.
At about 10:30, the 911 call came in for a possible collapse of a building.
An old theater being demolished to make way for a condo suddenly collapsed onto a school in the building next door. A disaster like this could potentially paralyze a city's emergency services.
In any circumstance where you have a limited number of resources and a potentially unlimited demand, it often becomes like a big game of chess.
4 minutes after the 911 call, 2 ambulances were on the scene. The third arrived 9 minutes later. And as soon as the dispatcher realized the scope of the disaster, a matter of seconds, the ESU bus was dispatched from the garage. By 11:19, it was on the scene too.
So the first half an hour to an hour, we were focusing a lot of energy on just figuring out who we needed to be looking after. We will always overestimate until we have a real sense of how many patients we have. In this particular case, we ended up having 7 ambulances on scene. We also had the emergency support bus and truck immediately responded. The other thing that did happen in the communication center on that day, the dispatcher who looked after that area of the city was taken off of the quadrant desk, and this was managed by one dispatcher on a different radio channel, and then the goings-on of the remainder of the district and the remainder of the city would be uninterrupted.
One student trapped in the rubble died on the scene. The ESU bus took 14 patients to hospital, all in one fell swoop, keeping 14 other ambulances on the road and the system working in the face of disaster. And, speaking of disasters, you know how in action movies the hero chases the bad guy, then the bad guy chases the hero, things explode, there's more car chases, more explosions, and finally the hero saves the day and the movie ends with the scene of the hero sitting on the back of an ambulance being treated for his wounds?
Well, this is that scene. You know, the ambulance has become sort of a cultural symbol, a sign that everything's under control, that you're gonna be okay, that you're safe now. Ow. Yeah, it hurts there. Yeah, there too. Now, in this show, there's been no bad guys and no car chases, but there have been heroes. No, not me. The ambulance and the paramedics who saved your life. Did you get the kitty?
Kitty? What kitty?
The kitty up on the post. There was a kitty on the post. That's why I shot myself out the cannon.
What?
Ow!
Better get him to the hospital.
I swear to God, there was a kitty!
I think we need to get you there quick, okay?